In a quiet, distant kingdom lived a brave king named Victor and his devoted queen Victoria. They ruled their small kingdom with wisdom and kindness, and their hearts were always dedicated to their people who loved them dearly. However, despite all their happiness, one thing haunted them. Queen Victoria could not bear a child. This sorrow weighed heavily on the queen, who longed to give her beloved husband and heir. For years, she prayed and wept, her heart aching with a desperate longing for a child. But no child came. Desperate, she turned to the mystical river goddess, known for her immense power and unpredictable nature. On a quiet evening, she made her way to the river bank. The air was still, and the water shimmered under the moonlight. "River goddess," Victoria called out, her voice trembling with desperation. "Please bless me with a child. I promise to give you anything you desire in return." Suddenly, the water began to ripple, and the goddess emerged, her form both beautiful and terrifying. She gazed at the queen with eyes as deep as the river itself. "I will grant you a child," she said, her voice echoing like the wind through the trees. "But in return, you must come to me once every month with offerings of gratitude. Do this and your child will live a blessed life. Fail and you will face consequences beyond your worst nightmares." Victoria, filled with hope, eagerly agreed. And sure enough, months later, she gave birth to a beautiful girl, Princess Mara. The whole kingdom celebrated, for Mara was the most stunning child anyone had ever seen. Her skin glowed like the morning sun, and her smile could brighten the darkest days. As news of her beauty spread, kings and princes from faraway lands came to betroth her to their sons, hoping to win King Victor's favor. But the king eventually chose the son of King Henry, a powerful and wealthy man. "It's a perfect match," Victor said confidently to his wife one evening. "Not only will our daughter have a strong future, but our kingdom will be protected." Years passed, and Mara grew even more beautiful. By the time she turned 16, her presence lit up any room, and her charm enchanted everyone who met her. She was the talk of the kingdom. Every young man in the land dreamed of marrying her. But with all this admiration, something began to change in Queen Victoria. One day, she looked at her daughter and thought to herself, "Why do I need to continue offering gifts to that goddess? Look at Mara, this beauty, this grace. It's all from my womb, not hers. I'm the one who deserves the praise." Blinded by her vanity, Queen Victoria stopped offering gifts to the river goddess. For 2 long years, she ignored the goddess' warnings. Then, on the morning of Prince Mara's 18th birthday, tragedy struck. The palace was bustling with preparations for Mara's birthday celebration. The maids entered her chamber to wake her, expecting to see the radiant princess they adored. But instead, they found a creature so hideous that they screamed in terror. Mara's beautiful features had been twisted into something monstrous. Her skin was pale and sickly. Her once lustrous hair hung in greasy strings, and worst of all, a hunchback disfigured her once perfect posture. Mara awoke to the sound of her mother's horrified cries. She reached for a mirror, her heart pounding with fear. When she saw her reflection, she collapsed, overwhelmed by shock. Her life as she knew it was over. After reviving her, her mother hurried to her husband to share the shocking event. The husband quickly inquired, "When was the last time you made offerings to the river goddess?" Queen Victoria replied, "It was 2 years ago." A wave of realization washed over her as she asked, "Could this be the reason?" "Absolutely. The only condition she set was for us to show our gratitude. Why did you stop? Why did you let it slip away?" King Victor questioned, his eyes glistening with tears. "We must act quickly. King Henry and his followers will soon demand the marriage rites to commence. What are we going to do?" Queen Victoria sobbed. Desperate, the king and queen rushed to the river, calling out for the goddess. "Please, great goddess, forgive us," Victoria pleaded, tears streaming down her face. "Do not punish my daughter for my mistake. I'll do anything to make things right." After what seemed like an eternity, the water began to stir, and the goddess emerged once more. But this time, her eyes were cold and her voice was like ice. "You were warned," she said. "I gave you one condition and you broke it. The curse cannot be undone." "No!" Victoria cried, falling to her knees. "Please show mercy, I beg you." But the goddess turned away, disappearing into the river's depths without another word. Heartbroken, the king and queen returned to the palace. They built high walls around it, hoping to hide their daughter's curse from the world. Unfortunately for them, the maids who had first encountered the princess had already spread the news, and soon everyone in the village was aware of what had happened to Princess Mara. When King Henry heard the rumors, he came to see for himself. As soon as he looked at the deformed princess, he recoiled in disgust. "My son will not marry this," he spat. "Return everything I gave you. Our families will have nothing more to do with each other." The rejection shattered what little hope the royal family had left. But the worst was yet to come. Without the protection of their powerful ally, the kingdom was vulnerable. Enemies attacked, and in the chaos, King Victor and Queen Victoria were killed. The kingdom fell, and Princess Mara, hidden in her room, was left alone to face her cursed fate. One night, under the cover of darkness, Mara fled the ruined kingdom. She wandered through the forest, her once beautiful face now a mark of misery. People pointed and laughed at her everywhere she went. Children threw stones and no one showed her any kindness, until one day, a young hunter named Edward came across her. Seeing the cruelty of the children who were tormenting her, he stepped in. "Hey, leave her alone!" Edward shouted, chasing the children away. He turned to Mara, who was huddled on the ground, tears streaming down her face. "Are you okay?" Mara looked up at him, surprised. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. "No one else cares." Edward smiled gently. "Because everyone deserves kindness. Come on, let's get you something to eat." From that day on, Edward took care of Mara. He gave her food and shelter, and they grew close over time. Edward fell in love with her, not for her beauty, which was long gone, but for the person she was inside. 2 years passed, and one day, Edward proposed to her. "Mara," he said, taking her hand, "I know life hasn't been kind to you, but I love you. Will you marry me?" Mara, touched by his sincerity, agreed. They lived happily together, but Edward knew that Mara still longed to be free of her curse. So one day, he decided to seek help. He took Mara deep into the forest to the hut of a mysterious dwarf who was known for his powerful magic. The dwarf looked at Mara and nodded. "I know who you are," he said. "The goddess's curse runs deep, but it can be lifted." Edward turned towards the princess and smiled. His face looked happy. His friend had told him about this mysterious dwarf and had advised him to take the princess there. And he said he was the only one who could cure her of whatever disease she was suffering from. And his friend was right. Immediately, the dwarf started making incantations and asked the princess to wait outside. He spoke with Edward at length, and when he came out, he looked at the princess, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "The native doctor said you will be fine again, but the only condition was, any day you insult me or abuse me, that day I will die." Princess Mara held his hand, looked at him and said, "I will never insult you, my love. You will not die. We will live and grow old together." She kissed him softly on his lips, and they began their journey back home. The following day, she woke up and found herself transformed. Her skin was radiant again, her hair soft and flowing. She was once again the beautiful princess she had been before the curse. "Edward," she cried, running to him. "Look at me. The curse is gone." Edward smiled, pulling her into a tight embrace. "You are beautiful, Mara," he said. After years of feeling lost, Princess Mara finally embraced her identity as a woman. She had returned to her former self, an elegant, tall beauty whose radiant smile could thwart the coldest heart. With renewed vigor, she began to engage in activities she had long set aside, attending women's meetings, opening a shop, and selling vibrant wrappers. Joy filled her life once more. As her confidence blossomed, she caught the eye of many suitors. Affluent men from both the village and beyond would frequently approach her. Some even offered her the world in exchange for her leaving her husband. Initially, she brushed off their advances, but everything changed 2 years later when she encountered a man named Prince Charles. One fateful morning, as she made her way to her shop, a man clad in the most exquisite attire she had ever seen approached her. He paused, gazing at her with admiration, and said, "I've heard tales of your beauty and had to see for myself if the rumors were true. You are even more stunning than I imagined. My princess, may I introduce myself?" Princess Mara nodded. "I am Prince Charles from the Umazi Kingdom, and I seek a woman to be my queen. I can envision no one but you in that role. Will you honor me by becoming my queen?" Mara blushed, flattered by his words. "Thank you, my prince," she said, her heart raising. Prince Charles smiled, stepping closer. "You deserve to be treated like the royalty you are," he whispered. "A woman of your beauty shouldn't be living a simple life with a hunter. You should be by my side, living in luxury. What do you say, Princess Mara? Be my queen." Mara hesitated, torn between her love for Edward and the temptation of the life Prince Charles promised. But the prince's words were like a poison, slowly taking root in her heart. Upon returning home, she found it impossible to shake off thoughts of the proposal. She began to weigh her current life against the one that awaited her if she accepted Prince Charles' offer. From that moment, her behavior took a turn. She started coming home late, neglecting her cooking duties, and dressing up with makeup as if preparing for a grand event. Her mornings became rushed as she left the house early, and her behavior shifted from that of a loving, devoted wife to someone who was increasingly rude and dismissive. Edward, noticing the change, confronted her one evening, asking, "My love, is there something you need to share with me? What is going on? You stopped cooking and taking care of things at home, and you don't even let me touch you anymore. Have I done something to upset you?" She merely hissed in response and turned away to sleep. Princess Mara frequently met with Prince Charles, enjoying their conversations and time together, and enchanted by his wealth and charm. One fateful day, Prince Charles leaned in and kissed her, and she reciprocated, leading to an intimate night. The following day, when she returned home, she looked at her husband Edward with disdain. Rushing to the bathroom, she tried to wash away her feelings. Upon her return, she found Edward on his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Please, my love, don't leave me. Let's resolve this peacefully. If I've done something wrong, I'm truly sorry. I love you deeply and can't bear the thought of losing you. Just tell me what I need to do to make it right. What is happening to us? You're different. You don't spend time with me anymore, and you've grown cold. Please tell me what is wrong," he said softly. Princess Mara suddenly recalled the condition she was given when she was healed. Mara looked at him with disdain. "What's wrong?" she snapped. "What's wrong is that I'm living like a commoner when I should be living like royalty. You're just a poor hunter. Edward, I deserve more than this. More than you foolish, wretched man," she spat. "What kind of life can you offer me? You are nothing but a poor hunter, unworthy of a woman like me. I deserve wealth, luxury, a life of royalty, not this miserable existence you call love. You foolish man, how could someone as stunning as I be married to you? Don't you realize you are beneath me? You're utterly foolish and will remain miserable. I have a man who adores me and can treat me like the royalty I am. Look at what you are making me become. What do? Hunt. You are just a common hunter, a worthless man. You will never be wealthy enough for me." With that, she turned away and fell asleep on the bed, leaving Edward in shock, still kneeling, hoping to see his dead body in the morning. The following morning, Princess Mara awoke, anticipating to see the dead body of her husband, but to her astonishment, she found Edward alive and breathing. In an instant, Mara's body began to twist and contour, her beauty fading as the curse returned with full force. She screamed in horror as she transformed back into the ugly hunchback creature she had once been. Edward stood before her, his eyes filled with tears as he spoke. "All I ever did was show you kindness and compassion. I welcomed you into my life when others turned their backs, marrying you despite your appearance and lack of wealth. I sought to help you find a way out of your troubles, yet you repaid my kindness with a desire for my death. For what? For riches, for money. I deceived you that day. The truth from the native doctor was that you would revert to your old self the moment you insulted or mistreated me. I kept that from you, knowing you would be cautious and not act naturally if I revealed it. Now you've revealed your true nature. The native doctor shared the story of your parents with me. He said your mother took the glory for herself and stopped appreciating her as that was the condition she gave when you were born. And so she wanted to make sure you were not like them, which was why she gave a condition after the native doctor appeased her. Edward, please, I'm so sorry. Turn me back into the woman I once was. I promise to love you forever. Please forgive me, Princess Mara pleaded, tears streaming down her face. Edward, heartbroken, pushed her out of his home, warning her never to return. Gathering her belongings, Princess Mara made her way back to Prince Charles. As soon as he laid eyes on her, he commanded the palace guards to remove her. "It's me, my prince. I am Princess Mara, your beloved. You promised to marry me. We can still be together," she cried out, but the guards forcefully pushed her away. With no way to return to the mysterious dwarf, Princess Mara found herself lost and alone. Rejected and abandoned by everyone, Mara wandered the wilderness, cursed and alone. She eventually died, forgotten by all, in the depths of the forest. As for Edward, he moved on with his life. He found love again and married a kind, loving woman, and together they raised three beautiful children. They lived a peaceful, happy life, the life Mara could have had if only she had been grateful and kind. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story of how pride and greed can lead to the downfall of even the most blessed person. Remember, it's not beauty or wealth that makes a person truly valuable, but their kindness, humility, and love. Let this story be a reminder to us all to cherish what we have and treat others with respect. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel for more captivating tales. And don't forget to share it with your friends. Until next time, stay kind, stay humble, and take care. Bye.